10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Good morning, everyone. This is Tuesday morning right now at 3 o'clock. That's normally when I do my show. I had lowered my levels quite a bit because I had them way too high. Yes, it is iWalter once again. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a show. I hate to say it, it was a disaster at work this afternoon. The games just continue to be played. By the way, one thing I just saw on Facebook, I had to add that into my list of things to look at or read, perhaps, or at least mention, I should say. It was on a Daily Mail, and it's titled, Northern Italian Towns Are Ordered to Stop Accepting Migrants Because the Situation is Like a Bomb Ready to Go Off. As 6,000 refugees are rescued in one weekend, desperately trying to reach Europe. So, yeah, Italy is now turning away these migrants or immigrants, whatever you want to call them. I guess it would be equivalent to us with all these illegals coming in our country. They're just, flooding our country. But now they're doing the same. And at least they had, Italy actually did something about it. I said, we're not going to take any more of these people coming in our country. We can't afford to. So, hey, that's kind of reassuring. That made me feel happy. I actually heard this on Rush today, and I think it was today because he's away. And I found the article actually on Facebook, so it was kind of funny. Unfortunately, it was a Huffington Post, which I forget it was his guest host that was covering a show who mentioned this, or actually Rush when I had listened over the weekend. I think it was actually Friday's show, though. It's titled Big Sex Party Organized for Disabled People. I remember him mention that on Friday, so maybe that's where I think I heard it. Yeah, it was pretty entertaining. I'm not going to go into it, though. Just because I got a late start, too. Yeah, before I go in and start complaining like I always do, I'm going to kind of refrain from that for at least the next few minutes. Hey, this is basically a gallery, I guess. And this, by the way, what I'm going to mention was on dailygallerydose.me. And it says 5 chilling facts about hickeys. And they're just not gross. They cause serious health complications. Yeah, that was interesting. So it shows some pictures on my Facebook page. So, yeah, you can get the link from there. Or just follow what I just had mentioned. Unfortunately, it was getting a little bit old. I guess it should be still on comicbook.com. Once again, they have more awesome Suicide Squad set pics show Deadshot in action and the team together again. At least this time, I'll have to say that Will Smith is wearing his full attire. His face is covered, which I was kind of impressed by that fact. Maybe they're trying to make... I mean, they shouldn't be just showing this much of the film, I think. I think it's going to be a total disaster either way. I'm hoping not, but you never know. I think I heard this again on Rush, probably on Friday's show, and it was on the Daily Mail. That's because I think he follows that a lot closer than he used to. for his stories, Rush Limbaugh, but it's Canadian, Dutch, and German tourists who pose naked on the top of a sacred mountain are to blame by the Malaysian government for causing earthquakes that killed 16. Yeah, I remember him mentioning this. It's like, you got to be kidding, but the article was popped up, or had popped up, and it was like, okay, this is unmentionable. I don't know. You can't say much about how stupid people are. By the way, I have to tell you, I was going off on this tonight because I marathoned that show, Living Maddie, and I love the show. I mean, I love the kids shows because they're a lot less harmful than a lot of these adult shows, regular shows, whatever you want to call them. So I had to find it. I had to post on my Facebook page. I think it's hilarious. I hated it at the time. It got really annoying. But the one character that this actress plays, she plays two main characters because they're twins, but she played actually up to 3 one time. And yeah, you know what? I have to look up her name again. I apologize. So you can hear the typing. And it's very annoying. I realize that. So why do you do it, Walter? Well, it's my show. I'm going to do what I want, and nobody listens to me. Dove Cameron. Yeah, she's a great actress. I still think, again, she should have played Supergirl. Even if they make a movie, I think she'd be definitely promising in that part. She's proven herself as an actress. But anyway, her twin sister, one of the two, the one named Maddie, she always goes, "Bam, what?" And it's just like it's annoyingly hilarious. Like after a while, and you hear it all the time. So all night at work, I was going, "Bam, what?" You have to hear her do it. It's actually more entertaining than how I'm destroying it. I saw this article, and I had to mention it was on Daily Mail again. It's a poodle who actually rides a tricycle. It's cute, but hilarious. It says it's Bradley Wagons, the Bellington Terrier, becomes a cycling star after learning to ride downhill on a children's tricycle. Yeah, this little pooch likes to ride a tricycle. It's hilarious. It's cute. Something a little bit more or less offensive than what's normally online that you have to read. Yeah, most of my stuff is more nonsense than less. Actually, yeah, it is. There was an article I found. It's kind of scary almost. Daily Mail again, actually. Chinese doctor who has already performed 1,000 head transplants in mice says monkeys are next. Like, he literally cuts the poor heads off these mice and transplants them onto another mouse. Little bit too much Frankenstein for me, but like Frankenstein, I should say. But yeah, it's just pretty scary. Yeah, I thought there were some other things I wanted to mention before I go into me going off about work. Oh, I'll tell you one thing, though, folks. I actually made a mistake. I actually listened to Rush because most of the time he steers you right on, oh, you should buy this, you should buy that. Now, the man's in to make money. He's not making any money on what I'm going to mention. It's going to be the iWatch. He's a big fanboy of Apple. I don't think Apple is a fanboy of Rush Limbaugh, but he is definitely one of them, one of their fanboys, which is kind of funny because their politics and his don't, it's like oil and water, basically. So anyway, he was mentioning somebody gave him an iWatch. Two different people gave him two different types of iWatches. And it was like he was boasting how great this iWatch was, which he thought at first he would have no use for. It was like, okay, well, if Rush thinks it's really good, it's got to be pretty damn good. So I plunked down basically. I got a $450. That's the cheapest one you can buy, but the bigger size watch. And I also bought the extended warranty that covers any type of damage. And I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I got everything covered. I got the watch. I looked at it. And ever since I've had it, it's been the biggest mistake I've ever bought. And it just makes me even more so realize that Apple is slowly going to just basically... Right now, it has it. I mean, it's like $1 trillion company, but it's gonna slowly wither away, and it's gonna die a slow but painful death when people start to realize that Apple is no longer, the Steve Jobs company that we all knew and love. So, this was something Jobs would have never made. It's a total piece of garbage, a total waste of money. I'm ready. I wanted to return my iWatch, but I found out I had the rude awakening and I waited too long, and now I am stuck with it unless I decide to sell it on eBay, which I would love to do, but I'm actually almost afraid that, because I've worn it a few times, so it's got a little bit of a dirt band, even though it's completely covered, because I got the white one. But yeah, it was the biggest, I will say the biggest mistake that I have ever made on making a purchase. And I buy a lot of wasteful things. Most of the time I just don't think about it and I throw it in my closet and forget about it, or in a bureau. But this time it was a complete waste. So bottom line is, don't even, if you think like, hey, you know what, I'm missing out on something because the iWatch is the new thing from Apple. Well, guess what? It is not really from the people who have founded Apple. It is something that the figureheads that run that company now are trying to do to keep the company alive. Now, they're also pushing, if you go to Apple's website, how OS 9 is coming out and everything else. It's like, well, I hate to tell you, Apple was, and it was annoying, but they were a big hardware company where they basically, their market was to sell hardware. The software was secondhand. Well, that is no longer the case, because now Apple has become a company that is more inclined to selling their software and upgrading the hardware that was left behind by Jobs and basically just changing the size. There is no more to it. There is no new bells or whistles, and you won't see anything beyond the iPad and the iPhone. Any other inventions are completely finished. So it's really sad to say that. I'm sorry, but or more aluminum, metal-based, whatever you want to call it, cased computers or whatever. Any new design on any new type of computer is not going to happen. Everything's going to stay the same. It's just going to change its size. Basically, in my opinion, Apple is a dead subject. Probably like my show tonight. But yeah, it's done with. Alrighty, I could read some stories I could probably grab and make something out of, but I don't even feel like doing that tonight. So, it was funny though. I actually watched this film. It was from the late 80s, I guess, early 80s, Saturday Night Live crew. I always get his name wrong. The one who played in Anchorman, Will Ferrell, I think that's his name. And it was that movie, A Night at the Roxbury. Anyway, I know the movie got really bad reviews, but apparently a lot of people seem to like it, because you look at the amount of people who liked that film, and I'm trying to see if I can find a way to say it properly, because I did say it earlier before I got on to do this, and I completely messed it up, whatever. Yeah, A Night at the Roxbury. I think that is the correct way to say it. Anyway, I wouldn't say it was the greatest thing I've ever had seen, but, the movie's like, believe it or not, it came out in 98, so what is that, like 17 years old almost, 16 years old? It was over 15. So I was watching a little bit on my break at work, and then it was like I had to finish it out at home. And I was actually kind of surprised. It wasn't wonderful. I wouldn't say, hey, stop the press, I like this. I liked actually the music because it reminded me when I was younger, in my early 20s, I guess. That was the kind of music I would listen to, believe it or not. So listening in that movie just kind of, I reminisced about that. Like, yeah, I want to get that soundtrack almost. But yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It said Rotten Tomatoes, they gave it 11% on the tomato meter, and it was not a fresh movie. But the audience score was 70%, which is really impressive for a movie that was, scored that poorly. Again, it was the only thing I didn't like about the movie, the main thing I didn't like about it personally, was I remember when they did that skit on Saturday Night Live, I could swear that those characters were supposed to be like Russian or Romanian peep guys that came over to this country. They didn't know anything about our ways. And, the skit was short and funny. Obviously, you got it now stretched out to almost, not quite an hour and a half. And they were both American guys that were brothers. So they kind of changed that. And they didn't speak with that, funny accent they played on the show. So the characters weren't as impressive in that way, but either way, it was kind of funny. It was kind of a little bit entertaining. Anyway, I'm going to save this one for later. Sorry, I saw something I'm not going to mention. So, yeah, that was the highlight. I was actually going to try to start watching, because I bought the series, the show Ghost Whisper, and I guess it's going to be another night I won't be watching that anytime soon, because it's going to be like 4 or 5 o'clock, and I should be in bed by then. But anyway, I was going to go back. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I was really glad, believe it or not, that it rained really heavily tonight. In fact, it was like, I guess, not tornado, like a hurricane watch. And was like, you know what? My prayers have been answered, because I was praying to God, please let it rain after that incident I had on my last show that happened on Saturday night when I had this incident over at the Audubon Bird Sanctuary, which it's no longer called that, I know, where this pile of crap that I left behind from having not be able to use their bathrooms at the park. I just imagine, because the day after I had this problem, it got extremely freaking hot. I mean, it was very hot, which obviously would make the smell even worse. And it was like that for the last 2 days, and that was the longest 48 hours of my life. The fact that now we're having these these large, I can't say the word right, but these continuous rainstorms. It was like, not brainstorms, but rain. Like, rain is like, it's raining really, really heavy. It was like, thank you, Lord, because that'll wash all away that evidence from Walter's not excited night on Saturday. So I was happy about that. That was the only good thing. But I come to work today, and I got these two girls I work with. They were like kind of snickering, probably the way I dress. I don't even care anymore. I really do not care. If you want to act like a 5-year-old, go right ahead, folks, because I know they do at my job. So I come in, they were doing the whole snicker thing, acting like they did a lot of work, which they did minimal work, and left me with a crap load of work. I mean, it was more than I could handle. We have these big dumpsters at work. We have a ton of them for each building. Well, the dumpster on our building was empty when I started. And these dumpsters are like the ones you find at the mall, but they're like maybe 3 times the size. And when I was done getting all this garbage that should have been gotten the last 2 days when I was off on Saturday and Sunday, was not gotten, even on Monday morning. So I was left with enough trash to fill this dumpster almost 3/4 of the way. That's ridiculous. It was only 2 days I was off, not a whole week or even a month. But that's how much garbage was left behind. And there's people that, they're a step above, our pay grade in what they do. And I think it's like I work with a classroom full of high school kids because they think it's funny to torture me. And it was like, and then I had a problem with the boss where we have to document our work, and we have these bound books that the paperwork goes into. You have to fill out the paperwork. Okay, I did such and such at this time. That's in this bound book. It's documented. The government looks at it to make sure everything is up to par. Well, they were kind enough to hide the books the last 2 days last week, 2 days in a row. They were hiding books on me, and I both times had to go on our intranet, print out the paperwork, and have it laying out and filed later on because they were hiding books on me. So on Friday, though, they did this to me, and it was like, listen, I looked everywhere in our building for these books. I don't know where they put them, but it was definitely not in the area it was supposed to be. And this is not the first time this has happened. So I print out the paperwork. I put it on one of my boss's desks. I put on there, hey, listen, the books are missing again. I don't know what happened to them. I did look around, couldn't find them. He gets really snippy with me, unlike the women that he complains about and says that, oh, yeah, they're a pain. They didn't do anything when I was sick because I had bronchitis, but he doesn't do anything about the situation. To me, he basically writes a nasty note. In my opinion, I had taken it very offensively. And he took my note and the paperwork that I had to print out that has to be, it's got to be, basically not notarized, but it's got to be dated, timestamp, things like that. Okay, I worked at such and such time because the government comes in, and if it's not filled out properly, we will get violated for such and such. He puts it back on my desk, and he writes, "Find the book, explanation point." And it was like, okay, you're being an a-hole. I didn't expect that. And I remember when I came back from being sick, as I was out for a week, the job I work at, you have to go to what's basically equivalent to a nurse's station, have a doctor's note, get paperwork filled out, what's called FMLA paperwork, so you won't get fired. So that had taken over an hour for me to do. I come back and was like, oh, I forgot to clock in for work. Can you help me with this? Fill out the paper, fill out the timesheet that said you didn't punch in. Okay, so it sat there for a whole freaking week. And then they still don't fill it out. And that really pissed me off. It's like, I better get paid for this time I had off. I don't want to play any more games. So these other two, they don't. The one in particular, this one woman that I work with, she never punches in because she's always late. And they always seem to fill in her thing. They don't make her fill out any paperwork. They don't give her a hard time. So tonight was the straw that broke the camel's back. I go in there. He gives me a hard time. He throws things back in my face, this one particular boss. And I get all this work and more work piled on top of me. Again, it's like grade school behavior. I said the rooms look like shit. They were, sorry about that, they were destroyed. These rooms that I have to clean on a daily basis, which I just did on Friday. And it was like, okay, I came out, we have work uniforms where I work. It was drenched. It looked like I literally had swum 10 laps. I was saturated. I mean, there was water in my shoes. I was sweating so bad. So, from all the work I was left behind. And I told my boss, I said, listen, I've already had from this job in this building, I've already had one nervous breakdown where I had taken off a couple weeks because I was just so stressed out. I literally had lost control of my temper. And I said to him, I'm not going to lose my temper. I'm not going to have a nervous breakdown over this job again, lose time from work over you or anything else with this job. And I told him, I said, if this continues, I said, just consider this at the date of Monday, my 2-week notice, because I will be quitting. And right away he had taken back what he said, of like, oh, well, I'll look into this, I'll make sure to work this out. It's like, you know what? This has been going on for almost a half a year. There are certain places you have to have what's called badge access to get in certain locations that I'm supposed to get into to work. I've been asking for this badge access for 3.5 years, and they haven't given it to me. They have people who started working in my building. They gave them the access the first day they got there. No questions asked. No BS. So what is this saying to me? They obviously don't want me there. And I told them that. I said, if you don't want, I am willing to leave. I will even quit the job if I have to. But I will not tolerate somebody treat me like a piece of dog shit under their shoes. And if it means me quitting and then trying to file a suit against the company, I probably would. But yeah, that was the highlight of my day. I was not happy whatsoever. But yeah, I finally got to my breaking point. And my breaking point, people who know me know when I get really angry that you better kind of like back off a little bit, because my temper means things are going to break, and not in a good way. So, let me just put it this way. My bite is much worse than my bark. So when you start hearing me raise my voice, you know that it's an issue. And if you can continue to, push my buttons, so to speak, you're not going to like what the end result's going to be. It's going to be a disaster, and I'll probably be taken out in handcuffs. That's how bad it could get. But you know what? If they want to continue to play these games, I will push it back, and to the point that if it means me either getting escorted out by police or fired or me taking legal actions, that will happen. So that was the highlight of my night. Me yelling at my boss. One of my 4 bosses. I have 4 different bosses during a given week. But I made it very clear to him tonight, I am not taking any more of your bullshit. I mean, this is ridiculous. And I mouthed off to, now this is the second boss that I mouthed off to. Now, they usually tell you, oh, don't mouth off to your bosses. I normally don't. I am very open-minded, folks. But when you push and push and push, and you have coworkers who think it's hilarious to harass you, yeah, that's an issue that I won't deal with very kindly for a decent amount of time before I will let them know that you're going to be sorry for, doing the shit you're doing. So anyway, enough babbling on. I'm at my half-hour mark for the night. Surprisingly, I don't know how I did it. So everyone, have a good Tuesday morning, and please try to listen in again. We'll try to find more interesting things to talk about. But I try to keep this show real. Like I said, real talking, or my bumper says. And it might be about nothing, but I try to keep it more real than just general, BS that you will read on news articles. I try to make it more. Everyone, I am signing off.